I was just talking with Chris Burkhart before the show began tonight. And the Blazers fall tonight, 129-121 to the Chicago Bulls. But what is it now, the third game in 4 nights? It's not normally that you can come out and say this with confidence, but I think tonight this was a fatigue factor type of a game. 3 games in 4 nights, and I think the Blazers, we saw it there in the third quarter when they put up just 17 points. They just ran out of gas. And there were a lot of things to take away from this game that I thought were, pretty good. But in the end, they just didn't have enough. And, you have to have a lot of things go right when you're playing without size. There's no Nurk on the floor. You have to do a lot of things right as a group to be able to rebound as a team and do your job there. And in the end, the Blazers just didn't have enough. 129-121 is your final as the Blazers finish up the road trip 3-3. Or, they take 2 out of 3. So it's a winning road trip, which I think is nice. 2-1. They come back home now and get ready for this little mini 2-game stretch before they kick into the All-Star break or the trade deadline. And then they've got the 5-game home stretch, which is going to lead into the All-Star break. So it's an opportunity for the Trailblazers to, try and get some things or continue to build on some of the things that we've seen, over the last few games. But tonight, just not enough. In the key areas to be able to get the job done. Dame had 40 points, and I saw a key stat just to give you an example of how well he's playing right now. He is averaging about just over 15 drives at the rim per night, and he's finishing at over 71%. That right there is an elite number from Dame. It shows that, he's at peak performance right now. And he's just continuing to play terrific basketball. He was 12 of 21 tonight. He started red hot. He was 5 of 12 from 3, 40 points, hit all 11 of his shots from the foul line, and was able to pull down 5 rebounds and dish out 5 assists. We're just seeing the very best from Dame right now. And he's playing downhill. He's getting to the rim. He's getting to the foul line. He's virtually unstoppable because if you don't get up on him, he's going to shoot over the top and knock it down. And if you come out or you storm out to him, he'll drive right by you and get right to the rim. He's just in that zone right now where, and this happens for guys at his age, with Lillard, where there's really nothing he cannot do on a basketball floor. He's got the total game. He understands everything, and he's in this sweet little window right now that guys at his level reach, where physically he can do everything that he wants to do, but mentally when he's on the floor, the game is slowed down to the point where you can't surprise him. There's not a defense he hasn't seen. And so in most cases, he's out there playing checkers or playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. He's just at a different level, so he's able to anticipate, get to his spots. He can knock down shots. He's able to put the ball on the floor and attack the rim. He can finish with contact. He's got the entire package. And right now he's in this little groove where it's all coming together for him. He looks sensational right now, averaging 30.7 points per game going into the game tonight, able to hit the 40-point mark tonight. He just looks great, man. Props to Dame. He's back. He's healthy. The core surgery obviously was a great idea, and now look at the way he's balling out. Damian Lillard looks terrific. Elsewhere, 27 for Ant. They got 13 points from Josh Hart. Interesting stat here. Hey, Burkhart, what did you tell me now? Hart tonight, 5 of 13, 0 for 5 from 3. How's Hart doing lately behind the arc?
He's 0 for 5 tonight. If you include those 5, he's 3 for his last 20. And in the month of January as a whole is shooting like 20%.
Wow. That's just not going to get the job done. Now, one thing Burkhart and I have talked about on this show, and he pointed it out to me tonight, you got to pay attention to who Dame rolls with, who his crew is. And if you pay attention to some of the things that they say, it could give you a pretty darn good indication of maybe what Dame thinks or what's going on with the team. And we know that with Chris Haynes, right? When Haynes puts out a report in regards to the Trailblazers and he puts a line in there that reads something along the lines of sources tell Bleacher Report or sources tell TNT, what that means is that Burkhart was that Chris Haynes was probably talking to Dame. Well, Nate Jones, who on Twitter is @Jones on the NBA, He's part of Dame's crew. And tonight, as Chris pointed out, he put out this tweet. I'll read it to you. He just put out, Hart really creeping into Charles Barkley's golf swing territory with his hesitancy to shoot the three ball. It's wild. That's a direct criticism, and it's 100% dead on. I mean, Hart is afraid to shoot the three right now, and a lot of times when he pump fakes or passes up a three, he dribbles into a turnover. But the fact that Jones is putting that out there, it could give you an indication of what's to come. And as we told you earlier on game day, Josh Hart is almost a virtual lock to get dealt because of his contract situation. But as we've told you throughout the year, the real weakness on this roster, of course, is the fact that the Trailblazers, Josh Hart's just miscast. He's playing out of position right now. His best role is to come off the bench and back up at the 2. He's starting at the 3 right now out of necessity. He's undersized. He's not a great three-point shooter with consistency, and at times he can cause the offense to bog down. But Burkhart, he doesn't put that out unless he's got approval to put that out. He's not taking a direct shot at one of Dame's teammates unless they've already discussed it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious. Like you said, if you know what's going on, you can read between the lines there. And it's just, it's interesting because I don't know where this happened. He was been hesitant to shoot. Like, yes, he's in a slump, Josh Hart is, but the game tonight, Chad, and the YouTube chat listeners call in and tell us too, how many times did he have a wide open shot and he did this little like hesitate? It was like he was, and then ended up driving to the basket or kicking it out. Like he has the yips big time right now.
And you know how the offense works. Like, even if he's able to put the ball on the floor and create some off the bounce, a lot of times within the flow of the offense, it's designed for that open shot to go up, right? When you move the basketball, you get it to the open guy for 3. He needs to put that shot up.
Yeah, that's what he's there for, right?
He won't do it.
How much of it is the fact that he knows, regardless of what's going on, that he's in he's in trade talks right now, right?
I think that's part of it. And I think what happens with a lot of guys, you know what happens? They get nervous, they overthink things, and they try to be perfect out there on the floor. And then this is what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you don't start passing up threes unless you've been thinking about it too much, obviously. So, anywho, that's what's going on there. Bulls get the win 129 to 121. And, really it was that third quarter. That was the big difference. Bulls outscored the Blazers 33-17 in the third. After Portland was able to put up a very respectable, and I thought, dominant first half where they put up 70 points. They're up by 9 at halftime, but they just, or 11 at halftime. They just couldn't hold on, and I think fatigue kicked in, and we saw the result. The Bulls able to hold on and get the victory. Telephone number 503-248-0620. We can go out to the phones. Fifth quarter. Chad doing, Chris Burkhart with you as the Bulls top the Blazers tonight. Let's go out to Brian in Southwest. Brian, welcome to the show. What's up?
Yeah, Chad, second time this year for me, a little bit older, but I just wanted to, I think the Blazers are playing better. I'm proud of them for that. But they're a story of two halves. Not good enough. Sorry to tell you. They have to sustain 4 quarters, and they're usually 2, 3 at the most. Right now, they did great at the beginning of the game. Fantastic for a while. It was good at halftime. But it's a story of two halves. So they're going to have to correct that somehow. And Damon does his thing. So does Simons. And I think the coach is doing a little better. 4 quarters. It's a problem. And when Nurkovic comes back, he's also foul trouble. If he stays out of foul trouble, we might do well. Our record's not bad, 26-27. It's nothing great. But they have a chance. I'd say wait and see. God bless you all. And remember this. Bill was quite a legend. But some of our best teams. Clyde, 63 victories. 59, 2000, 2001. 59 the year that we may have won 2 in a row. When Walton went down 54-10, we ended up 59-34, I think it was. But I'm just giving you some hope. And the older generation is here with us. And hate to see Bill go, but it was great. And Chad, you're doing good, and so is Burkhart. And my memory's still doing pretty good. I was here in the beginning with some of the others, Miss J. Allen. But I just want to let you know, no matter what, even with Paul Allen gone, there is hope. And the Blazers, I just tell you, a lot of us, we can't afford the games we once did. $11 for a playoff, 2000-2001. Just a tip. But I'm telling you, it's still exciting, a great game. And so I'm glad to see Damon lessen his turnovers. He's still a little streaky in three-point range. Sorry to tell you, but he's a great player. He'll be in the Hall of Fame in the future. Love you all. God bless.
All right, appreciate it, Brian. Thanks for the phone call. Blazers very good tonight in the turnover department, just 9 turnovers. They were terrific last night, so they're tightening up the ball security over the last couple of games, which is nice. 503-248-0620. Let's go out to Charlie. Charlie, welcome to the fifth quarter. What's going on?
Hey, Chad. First of all, pretty good week for the Blazers, I would say.
Yes.
And, yeah, overall, really good. And you know you're lighting my fuse when you say the Josh Hart thing, but you are right. I call up to say you are right about his reluctance not to shoot. But from a coach's perspective, and I get how everybody thinks that way. If I'm the other coach and I'm seeing, let's see, Hart could make the extra pass like he always does a lot and makes that touch pass, or actually holds it and ends up having to pass up a wide open three, he's doing it to Lillard or to Simon, who are 2 of the best spot-up three-point open shooters in the NBA. If I were the other coach, I'd be saying, please shoot it, please shoot it, please shoot it. And even if I'm Chauncey, if I'm being honest, or if I'm coaching the team, I'm saying, pass it. Get it to the guys who are 50% open for three-point shooters or very, very, great three-point shooters, and love the 10 rebounds that he gets. But having said that, Trenton Watford, man, he should be in there. He should be, he solves our size problem instead of Hart. I love Hart, I do.
Well, when they trade Hart, what they're going to do, Charlie, once they trade Hart here in the next few days, they're going to put Nasir in the starting lineup. So that's how that will go.
Yeah, that's going to frustrate me because, honestly, I like Nasir, but I think he's like automatic coming off the bench as far as points. He can create his own shot. He gets to a spot, and he can score, and that's really, really important for a second unit that doesn't have a lot of scoring, as opposed to Watford, who's just a ball player. Chauncey says it all the time. He's a ball player. He's a player. He can create plays on the pick and roll when he's getting the ball instead of Nurk there in the middle or in the split. He makes really, really good decisions, and it just frustrates the heck out of me. And I know I'm going to be frustrated in a month when Chauncey isn't playing him again, and then he comes back and plays him again and says, well, he earned his way back. Dude, why is he earning his way out? What has he ever done not to be in the lineup except play great basketball all the time? Again, not statistically, but if you watch the game,
Watford's just not starting quality.
Great basketball.
Watford's not a starter in the NBA.
Okay,
that's why he got the contract he did.
That.
What I'm saying is that they want Nasir Little to have an opportunity to earn that job, because if he does and becomes the starting 3, it's going to solve a great issue for this team. So Nasir's going to get every chance. Plus, you want Nasir on the floor because he's a guy that can shoot the 3, and defensively, with his length being obviously better than Hart's, he's going to be able to upgrade that spot. But his three-point shooting is something. He won't pass up shots, and he'll shoot them within the flow of the offense, which is going to be helpful.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm saying is that I hope we don't lose sight of Watford at least being part of the rotation. It seems like he disappeared. I was even thinking the past few weeks, what, man, is he hurt? Is he hurt? Why is it DMP? What's going on? Dude should be playing. Chauncey's always talking about inexperience, having to overplay those guys. No, forget that. That guy can play, and he's proved he can play. I'd love to see him play more. Anyway, keep it up, Blazers. Just enough to give us hope. Love it.
All right, appreciate it, Charlie. Was he did Charlie actually give us the nod for being correct about Josh Hart? Was he close to doing that? Or was he reluctant in that, Burkhardt? What was going on there? I felt like he was wanting to say that we were right about Hart, but he stopped just short of that.
That's Charlie. He didn't want to quite give it to you. He almost had that tone like he wanted to get in a fight with you over it again, which I like. I like that ferocity. Bring it. But I don't understand. I get what he's laying down with Nasir. I like Nasir coming off the bench right now. He gives them exactly what they want. But if you trade Hart, then you have to put him there. You got to put the guy there who has earned that. But I also he said something there that did light bulb me. I thought was interesting. He talked about how coach does this whole, he lost his spot, this and that. He had to earn it back, and he mentioned what did he do to lose it. Thought that was interesting because that's been the thing on Watford right now too, right? That he earned his way back. But what has he done to lose it when no one else really did enough to pass him in the rotation? You get what I'm saying? So are people actively doing something to lose their spot when other people aren't actively doing something to earn the spot or the minutes ahead of them? I found that one to be a little weird. I was thinking about that with Watford during the game, and when Charlie just mentioned that, I was like, okay, I'm not the only one who thinks that.
Well, I think part of the issue with Watford has been Gary Payton II becoming available.
Right.
Also, Nasir getting back from injury, and then they've continued to play Shaden Sharp. So you've got guys in a position who are just going to get more minutes than Watford.
Which I agree with, which is fair, and you can just say that, right? Oh, the team's getting healthy, this and that. But there is this weird little narrative that so-and-so lost their spot in the rotation because he wasn't playing well or something, when to me, that wasn't the case. It was they had healthy bodies, and it was obvious. Why can't you just say that? Rather than create this weird narrative and make. Oh,
you're right.
And have players question themselves. You understand what I'm saying?
And now that Nurk is out, it creates more minutes for Watford because he's one of those guys where even though he's undersized, he's strong and plays a little bit bigger than his height.
Mm-hmm.
And can be effective for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the great thing about Watford is Coach said it last night, but it is true. It sounds corny, but that guy is always ready to go. He stays prepared. He does.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
503-248-0620. Let's grab another call. Let's go to John. John, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the fifth quarter.
Hey, Chad. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Very cool. Very cool. Huge fan. Moving forward, when I call in, I'm going to go by my alter ego, Jami, so that there's a little bit of recognition around the way that you recognize Raider Mike and people like that. But
I appreciate that.
Anyways, just want to add. Cool. Just curious. Recently, Chauncey said that starters deserve ending minutes, and we all know basketball is a game of runs, and we know that players can get hot. It concerns me that he said that. Are we going to keep a hot Nasir on the bench at the end of the game? He's dropping buckets. It's kind of a bad example because Nasir isn't somebody who usually does that. But curious to know your take on that about Chauncey choosing to only put starters in at the end of the game, even if somebody's hot.
Well, I'll share my thoughts on that. Burkhardt, you can jump in. I think every coach in the NBA usually, unless it's a unique circumstance, is always going to go back to their starters at the end of a game. And I got to be honest with you, even if they went to the bench and you had a couple of guys who were hot, I would much rather prefer have Dame and Ant on the floor at the end of games because I trust them in those type of situations. That's really what it comes down to. I've seen in a few cases where Tyronn Lue has benched his entire starting group before and allowed the bench to play out the rest of the game because he didn't like the way the stars were approaching the game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's usually what happens. Sometimes guys or coaches will go to the bench early. They'll get a spark from the bench, but at some point in that fourth quarter, you're typically going to go back to your starters.
I think you go to your starters because they know what to do on both ends of the floor in that situation, and then maybe you throw in someone in there who gives you something one of those starters doesn't. Case in point, you often see Drew Eubanks in instead of Yusuf Nurkic, right? Because you need a little bit more defense. Gary Payton is that type too. You might put him in instead of a Simons or a Josh Hart if you need just a little more defensive punch. But for the most part, you're still running your starters out there for a reason. They get paid $30 million a year, some of them, and more for a reason.
Yeah, and the Blazers just aren't deep enough. Dame, Ant, and Grant specifically are going to be on the floor in those type of situations. the other two parts are a little more interchangeable with Hart and Nurkic, because you go with Eubanks, or maybe you want Peyton in there for defensive type situations. But your key three of Dame, Ant, and Grant are going to be on the floor in those type of critical minutes at the end of games.
Yeah.
They're your stars. Like Burkhardt said, they know what they're supposed to be doing on both ends, and you're paying them the big dollars for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of money, I want your thoughts on this, because there's some conversation going on in the YouTube chat. For those of you out there listening, jump on the YouTube. If you're listening at home, grab your phone, get in the chat too. It's fun. Talking about the value of Josh Hart, right? And some people are arguing, just do what you do. Doesn't mean you have to trade him. Let him play his year out. If he wants to walk, he walks. Players come and go. It frees up the money if he walks. That's not how it works with the current cap situation that the Blazers are in. It's not. Josh Hart walking away doesn't free up $12 million for you to spend elsewhere, because you're still over the cap, right? So him leaving is a awful scenario. That's why you almost have to trade him, because the writing's on the wall. I'm pretty sure his camp has stated as such that there's no intent to pick up the player option. So you have to try to get some sort of asset in return. Some people say, no, you'd be lucky to get a Ricky Rubio for him. That would be an asset in return, right? If you get a second-round pick for him, that's an asset in return, because if he walks, he doesn't just free up money that you get to go spend now.
100%. That's why they got to move him now, because Hart will opt out at the end of the year from his player option, and he's going to want to get a long-term deal at about, somewhere between 18 to 22 million bucks a year. And the Blazers are not going to be able to pay that, because they got to re-sign Jeremy Grant to big dollars.
Well, if he keeps shooting, in the low 20% from three, it's going to be closer to that 18 number or lower, depending on the market.
But the type of team that would want Hart, like we said, he's miscast in Portland, so you've got to understand that he's playing out of position right now. A contender who needs a guy as a six-man off the bench for energy, defense, who can, play extended minutes at the two. That's the type of player he would be. And there are a lot of contenders out there that could use a defender and energy type like Josh Hart. He will be finding a trade partner for Josh Hart's not going to be a problem.
No, and even when he hits the market, I think there's going to be good value for him too. I looked at teams like Indiana. The fact that they re-signed Turner looks that they may be looking to build rather than full-on rebuild, just build off what they got. He'd be a great fit there. You can't tell me Josh Hart wouldn't fit quite well in Memphis, right? Team defense, a guy who can shoot if you're not playing him out of position and will play well within that offense. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that would want him, and I do think there's value there.
Let's go to Chuck in Battleground. Chuck, welcome back to the fifth quarter. Fire away.
Hey, how are you doing today, Chad?
I'm well. Nice to hear you.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
My question is, when they have Bill Shawnley's memorial, I'm wondering if they're going to have it on radio. And I'll tell you why. I'm kind of a shut-in. I do not have a TV. I only listen to the radio. And I'd like to listen to his memorial.
Well, I tell you what, Chuck, what we're doing is we're discussing it, and there's a good chance that we're going to play it here on 620 Rip City Radio, Bill's Memorial. So decision has not been made yet, but yes, there's a very good chance that's going to take place. I think it's at 4 o'clock. I don't remember the date off the top of my head. But we'll have an answer on that for you soon, my friend. All right, let's keep things rolling on the fifth quarter. 503-248-0620. Bulls get the win tonight, 129-121. Dame had 40 in a losing effort. Portland now is going to come back home, get ready for the Milwaukee Bucks. They'll be at Moda Center on Monday night, tip-off at 7, game day at 4:30.
It's time for the Portland Trailblazers Drive of the Night, here on the fifth quarter, hosted by Chad Dewing, 620 Rip City Radio. Drive of the Night is brought to you by Dick's Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram of Wilsonville, ready to compete with the lowest prices in town.
Now he drives as his pocket picked by Payton, loses a handle on it, gives it up to Watford. What an effort from GP2. Now here's Simons with it on the sideline, looks for Grant underneath, slips through, and he lays it in.
All right, final score tonight, the Chicago Bulls over your Portland Trailblazers, 129-121. Dame had 40 in a losing effort, but like I said, I think tonight, third game in 4 nights, you can chalk this one up to fatigue. We saw it there in the third quarter when they put up just 17 points. The Bulls stormed back and were able to take advantage of the opportunity and grab the win. They were led by Zach LaVine, 36 points. They got 27 from DeMar DeRozan, who to go along with 7 assists and 7 rebounds. He's so good at getting to the foul line. His mid-range game, he's a nice player to watch. They got 23 from Nikola Vucevic, 10 of 17 from the floor for him to go along with 11 rebounds and 4 assists. I've always liked his game in the paint. And they got 10 points off the bench from Kobe White. For the Blazers tonight, 40 from Dame, 27 from Ant. They had 13 apiece from Josh Hart and Jeremy Grant. Hart 0 for 5 from 3, just 3 of 20 from downtown. In his last 23 attempts. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Portland now, we'll head back home, 26-27 on the year. The trade deadline's coming up on Thursday, February 9th. And here's what they got coming up on the homestand. We'll start out Monday against Milwaukee, Wednesday against the Warriors, Friday the 10th against Oklahoma City, Monday the 13th against the Lakers, and then Tuesday, the 14th, against Washington. That 5-game homestand will lead them right into the All-Star break, where they'll have a brief period from Tuesday, the 14th, until they play again on Thursday, the 23rd. And with the trade deadline coming up, just to give you a quick recap on what I discussed earlier today on game day, I talked to a few people today. Josh Hart is the number one person, almost a lock to get moved before the deadline. So enjoy Josh Hart over the next couple of games because he'll get moved by Thursday. The other potential pieces to move would be Justice Winslow because his contract expires at the end of the season and he's unlikely to be re-signed. And then you could also look at other ancillary pieces at the end of the bench, whatever it takes to get the deals done. If they're going to make a bigger move, the team is obviously shopping Yusuf Nurkic. The type of team that would want Nurk would be, a team that's not looking to make a serious move over the next couple of years but needs an adequate center who can man that position. Nurk would be the answer there. And the other purpose would be with his contract. He's in that salary slot of $17 million per year, which is a very tradable contract, and teams who are looking into the future, the near future, to get something done would view his contract as a valuable chip to be able to move. That's where we're at there. And the Blazers now will come back home and get ready for a Bucks team that's playing very good basketball right now. Obviously a tough matchup for Portland because of their length and Giannis. And the Blazers being without Yusuf Nurkic until the All-Star break. Let's go out to Ron in Salt Lake. Ron, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the fifth quarter, brother.
Hey, I just have a message real quick for Chad. I forgot to say this when I was talking to him a few minutes ago, but my wife Heather said to say hello, Chad.
Oh, nice.
She misses conversing with you, Burkhart, in the back room there. She had a great time, and I'm sure you're not missing her with all those questions. But
what did your son label her as?
Chris guy was cool.
Your son labeled her what? 40 questions?
Yeah, 21 questions. Well, my wife, we always say she's the only person that can interrupt herself in a conversation.
She was awesome, Ron, and I enjoyed all the questions back here, no problem. And to be fair, the only reason I answer the phone now, I used to go, hey, Rip City Radio, but now I go, hey, Ron, it's because it pops up as your wife's name. That's how I know. She has all the power.
Oh, she does, yeah. I mean, hey, any guy knows that it's like a chessboard. Everyone's trying to take down the king, but we all know that the queen has all the power. I mean, the queen is the most powerful piece on a chessboard. So, yeah, no, the women control all the power. And once men realize that and then learn how to, kind of maneuver through that, you got it made. I mean, they have all the power, but you got to use that power the right way.
That's right.
So, anyway, Chad, I thought tonight when Dame hit that 3 in the third quarter to go up 17, I almost started peeling peaches and cracking pecans to make some pie. I was going to celebrate 3-0 on this road trip.
Yeah.
I really thought that we would have it. What's really sad, and I know it's the third game in 4 nights, and I know they're tired, and I get that, but you cannot, I don't care who you are, I don't care the situation, you cannot give up 29 points in a 6-minute period when you're up 17 in the third quarter in the NBA. We gave up, and I looked at it, we gave up 29 points over a 6-minute stretch to end that third quarter. And you just can't do that, especially in the situation that we're in where we're battling for these playoff positioning and everything else. So that was really disappointing. But the other thing I wanted to mention, and I don't know if you've heard anything on this, I'm assuming that it's just clickbait and bad reporting, but I've seen some stuff that Nasir Little, possibly for Vanderbilt. Here's why I hate that trade. I don't think it's kind of like an even swap in my opinion, but Nasir's contract, we're paying him after this season for the next 4 years. We're paying him right around $7 million a year, which is a killer contract for Nasir, who's only going to get better, who wants to be here, and also for possible moves later. That is a killer contract. Have you heard anything like that, or is that just a bunch of garbage?
No, I think Nasir, there are teams out there that I heard this today from the person I was talking to, that there's interest in Nasir, but the Blazers are reluctant to move him. So I know his name's being brought up. I don't think the Blazers want to move him, so I would be surprised if they do.
Okay, that's good to hear, because I would not, Cronin, if he made that move, Nasir for Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt only has 1 year left after this year on his contract. So just looking at the contract, because, Chad, we all know that there's 2 games being played in the NBA. There's the game on the court, but then there's the game with all the GMs and the moves and the collective bargaining agreement. Danny Ainge is killing it right now in that game. But this is the time of year where the GMs make their big money. So I hope Cronin makes the smart moves, but I hope he's not making moves just to make them, because in the off season, that's when we can really do some damage. But yeah, Hart's going to go. He just has to from all things being equal. But it's a fun week. It's one of my funnest weeks of the year in the NBA, the trading deadline, just to see what happens. So
in regards to the Jazz, Ron, what I was told today is that the Jazz, in regards to the Jared Vanderbilt discussion, they named Nasir Little. And I was told that, the Blazers are reluctant to do that. The belief is that they can probably get Jared Vanderbilt for much less than that. Probably, for example, maybe it's a combination of Keon and Justice, or maybe it's Keon and a couple of future, second-round picks. But I highly doubt they're going to involve Nasir in a Jared Vanderbilt trade.
Well, I'll tell you what. If we could get Vanderbilt for some of those guys on the very end of the bench and a second rounder or something, now we're talking. I mean, that's a move I would totally make. But Nasir for Vanderbilt, no way. That's not smart business.
No, because you need
Vanderbilt's
Nasir.
The kind of guy.
You need Nasir to start. Once you move Hart, Nasir will slide into the starting lineup. So, and you're right. His contract that they signed it's about as team friendly as it gets. So you've got great value in Nasir. They don't want to move off that right now.
Hey, let me ask you one last question. Just kind of a yes or no. Would you trade Josh Hart and either Simons or Shaden Sharp with Hart and a combination of a first rounder or 2 second rounders or something for OG?
No.
Okay.
Nope. No. Let me explain that. The situation in which I'm trading Anthony Simons or Shaden is if I'm getting back a player that I believe is going to put me over the top.
and you truly don't think see, I think that OG, not necessarily over the top, but OG is the type of player that I think moves the needle big time for the Blazers. And if they said, if we picked up the phone, or if Toronto picked up the phone and called us and said, look, give us Josh Hart and Shaedon Sharpe for OG, not Simons, but Josh Hart and Shaedon Sharpe, I think I make that move if I'm Cronin. As much as I love Sharpe, you know, he's from Toronto. He'd probably love to go back home. As much as I love that kid, OG might be the only player I would do that move for.
Yeah,
but I think OG would move it.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. But I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of people out there like OG. I just don't want to make that move and sacrifice that for a non-All-Star. Where do you draw the line with OG, Burkhart? Because I know you like OG. Where do you draw the line with OG?
OG is a fringe star to me, and that puts him in the same category as a guy like John Collins, puts him in the same category as a guy like Ant, myself. So I think if you're looking at an OG trade, I think you start considering talks for Ant in that, just because that's an easy place to start. Doesn't mean that's what you trade. But Shaedon Sharpe for him, it might be a significant upgrade in the minute, but I don't know if it's worth getting rid of that potential right now. You haven't even seen what this guy can do. I think you don't sell him unless Brooklyn comes calling and says, we'll give you Kevin Durant. We want a package. It's Ant, and we want Sharpe. And okay, now we're talking about Shaedon Sharpe. But OG Anunoby to me is a guy that has moved for some different type pieces, not a big potential star in Shaedon.
Who was the guy? Let's see here. Brian Windhorst of ESPN is the one who put out the report on the Trailblazers and referenced OG Anunoby and said that potential talks for him would be centered around Shaedon Sharpe. So the Shaedon talks involving OG started with Brian Windhorst this week.
Yeah, but also, I mean, the talks may start at Shaedon Sharpe. Same thing with Vanderbilt starting at Nasir Little, but that's not where they end, right? It's the, hey, this is what I'm thinking as you throw back a drink at the table with your fellow GM, but it's not where it goes. I mean, like I said, I think Ant and OG are more comparable. I'm not necessarily saying that's a move that I would make.
Yeah, like Ainge calls the Blazers, says, hey, we'd like Nasir. We can, center that on the Jared Vanderbilt deal. And the Blazers are like, we were thinking more along the lines of this. Ainge going to start it with Nasir, and then they could come to agreement on something else.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give up Nasir for Jared Vanderbilt.
No, not right now, because you're getting rid of something that's been beneficial for you, which is his bench scoring. And you're not getting that back with Jared Vanderbilt. Now, it's interesting because there's people in the chat who don't like that move. Carrie, I believe it was, who's had some takes today, said getting Vanderbilt would be worse than trading Josh Hart, and that's a bad take of all bad takes. If you got Jared Vanderbilt for Keon Johnson, who doesn't play, and Justice Winslow, who hasn't played in a month, who has an expiring deal, and you got a guy who goes out there and averages 8 rebounds a game, which is a weak spot of yours right now, and B, if you watched him play a couple games ago against the Blazers, yes, it was a game that Dame dropped 60, but he wasn't guarding Dame a ton of the night, but his defense was incredible. He moves well, has a great wingspan, makes it tough for shooters around him. He does a lot of the things that the Blazers need. He's just not a great scorer. But you don't need scoring right now. Why would I give up Nasir, who is my bench scorer, for that? I wouldn't.
Yeah, if I give up Keon and a couple of second-round picks for, Jared Vanderbilt, that's a no-brainer. Let's come back on the fifth quarter. We'll continue to take your calls. So if you're on hold, stay there, 503-248-0620. Bulls get the win tonight, 129-121. Portland finishes up the road trip at 2-1, which is a big-time W for the Blazers. They hadn't won a road game since December before this trip started, but here they are now at 2-1. Milwaukee's in town on Monday night. You got the fifth quarter on 620 Rip City Radio and live on our YouTube channel. Join us on the stream if you would like. More of your calls next. Big-time W for the Blazers.
of the Night is brought to you by Collection Connection, the leaders in framing sports memorabilia, team awards, and so much more. Collection Connection offers you a one-stop, full-service framing experience. Find them online at COLLCONN.com.
Hart will take it back the other way to the wing. Crosses, bounce pass to a cutting Eubanks, who hammers it right down the center of the lane. And the Blazers have their first lead since it was 3-0.
Josh Hart, Drew Eubanks screen roll.
The fifth quarter on 620 Rip City Radio presents the Scoreboard Report, brought to you by the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill, A&E's ultimate venue for sports fans every Monday night, featuring beer and wing specials and more.
All right, here's what went down in the association. The Nets over the Wizards today, 125-123 in Brooklyn. Nets now 32-20. Of course, Kyrie did not play in this one. And the Wizards were a big 19 after the first quarter. Final in New Orleans, the Pelicans over the Lakers, 131-126. Ingram with 35. LeBron now 36 points shy of Kareem's record. Suns 116, Pistons 100 in Detroit. DeAndre Ayton with 31 points and 16 rebounds. A final in overtime in New York, the Clippers over the Knicks, 134-128. Kawhi Leonard, 35 points and 4 steals. Bulls over the Trailblazers, 129-121. Zach LaVine with 36 points, 6 rebounds. In Milwaukee, Bucks 123, Heat 115. Giannis, 35 points, 15 boards, 11 assists. Little preview of what's coming to Moda Center on Monday. Thunder 153-121 over the Rockets in OKC. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 42 points, 6 assists, 3 steals. Warriors over the Mavericks, 119-113. They now improve their record to 27-26. Steph Curry left this game with a leg injury. No status on his situation at the moment. 21 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists before he exited the game. And the Nuggets ripped the Hawks in Denver 128-108. They improved to 37-16. Jamal Murray finished with 41 points and 7 assists. And that is your scoreboard report brought to you by A&E. Let's go out to Dan in Southeast. What's up, Socrates?
Oh, man. Well, we're parking our car in the same garage on this one again. I'm just not going to lose much sleep over this loss. The big wins against Memphis and Washington are good enough for me.
Yep.
The team was tired, and it showed, man. And the Bulls played well. They, up until like a couple minutes to go in the fourth, they were shooting 50% from three, and I didn't think they got a ton of open looks. I mean, like I thought we defended fairly well, but when they're on, they're a weird team, man. I've seen a couple references to the Blazers. In fact, John Hollinger called it out in a trade article this week. He said, well, the Blazers, Joe Cronin just has to acknowledge the fact that the team is basically Wizards West. I'm like, shut up. We're not Wizards West. Give me a break. But, I look at the Bulls, and it's a little closer. Obviously, Dame and Zach LaVine are very different players, but I'm like, both teams have a backcourt player who's a straight bucket on offense and struggles on defense. They got a center that plays a little inconsistently and drives the fan base crazy. They have some interesting pieces, but they just haven't figured out how to put them together and stuff. I don't know. But they played well, and whatever. 2-1 on the trip is good enough for me. I don't really like getting into – I just don't do a lot of trade speculation, but I can't resist. I got one for you that I don't even know if I like it all the way, but I wanted to float it past you and get your thoughts. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Ant and Josh for DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso. They were talking about this on Zach Lowe's podcast the other day. Now, I know that doesn't solve all their problems, certainly doesn't address things all the way on the defensive end. It's not like DeMar DeRozan's a stopper, but what he is a legit all-star and a guy who will murder you if you leave him open. He's on a huge contract that's not very palatable, but it's only through next season. I love the idea of being able to pair Caruso and GP2 in the backcourt. That is probably the strongest defensive backcourt pairing in the league if that happens. And it's, I don't know, you'd have to do some picks to even that out. And I don't know how well Simons fits in Chicago when you've got, LaVine there, but he's a talent and he's on a really good contract, I think. A contract that's going to look even better in a couple years when everybody's making 35, and you've got a guy like Ant who's 25, scoring 25 a game, and is on $25 million a year. It's really good. What do you think of that? That gets an all-star into town. It gets a second score, so Dame doesn't have to score 40 every night. He is still lethal from the mid-range. I like it. It is at least a feasible all-in move. I like that a lot more than the Anunoby scenarios. I do not want to get rid of Shaden Sharp. I think that's crazy. And it would suck losing Ant, but that gets a big name in here and a legit second scorer that can take some of the heat off Dame. And that, even if that doesn't check all the boxes, that's the kind of move we should be looking at. Like, either you think Dame can anchor a championship team or you don't. If you do, this is the year to go all in. Like, there's no clear front runner that's on pace for 70 wins. Boston looks very good, but I'm not thinking about the East right now. I'm thinking about the West, where there's a whole logjam of teams. And it's a perfect time for somebody to separate themselves. And bringing in a veteran with experience who's money from 18 feet, I think they could make it work. It's even more palatable now with this Curry leg injury. Like, if that's a problem, that could, like, I'm not worried about Golden State in the playoffs without Steph. One more reason that we should be looking to make a big move now. Not for Anunoby, not Vanderbilt and call it good. Make a move for a legitimate top-tier player and roll the dice and see what happens.
All right, I appreciate that. Burkhart, what do you think about Dan's idea that was that popped up? You know, Zach Lowe's podcast, they're throwing out all sorts of crazy ideas out there for the trade deadline. Would you move Ant and Hart for DeRozan and Caruso?
Rip City's going to hate me, but I brought that exact trade, except I did, well, not exact trade. I started off with Ant and DeRozan on Twitter the other day and got roasted for it. Roasted. Oh, you think DeRozan would be the missing piece? I'm not necessarily saying he's the missing piece, but if the point is to go all in, get me a guy who's not undersized if you play him at the 3, who is a certified bucket, as Dan said, from the mid-range. You saw it on display tonight. Oh, and is an all-star. A legit star to put next to Dame, which is what this team needs right now. A legit star. If that's the swing you want to make, I'd do it. I would do it. It's a big swing. Is it a risk to get an aging DeMar DeRozan? Yes, but it was a risk for Phoenix to go get an aging Chris Paul, and they had a pretty good year with him. They've had a pretty good run with him, right? So sometimes it pays off, and I would do it because it's a big-time swing that I want to see.
What's up, TriMat Pete? My man Pete Motley's out there in the YouTube chat right now. What's up, Pete? I miss you, buddy. Hope you're well. 503-248-0620. Man, you're right. DeRozan is an auto bucket. He's an auto bucket. Automatic.
Auto. Caruso would be great, give you a very versatile defender. We've seen that on display for a few years now. He can play multiple positions. You could still move other pieces around. Like, I know people get upset because they love Ant right now. I love Ant. I love his game. I think he's only going to continue to get better. But if you're trying to win in that Dame window, that's the type of swing you need. And I brought that name up because it kind of like Dan just said, I'm not necessarily saying maybe that's the guy you go get, but it's that type of move, that next legit star that you can put next to Dame that you need to be thinking about if you're legit trying to build around Dame and take advantage of this window.
All right, we'll come back, and we're going to take your calls, and we'll step into the coach's corner. We'll hear from Coach Billups following the Blazers' loss tonight, 129-121 in Chicago. You can find me on Twitter at Chad and Rip City. We're live on the YouTube stream right now. Go to youtube.com, pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio, and you'll see the live link right there. Bulls 129, Blazers 121. Portland's next game on Monday at Moda Center, 7 o'clock tip against Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks.
It's time for the Nothing But Net Shot of the Night here on the fifth quarter, 620 Rip City Radio. The Nothing But Net Shot of the Night is brought to you by Oregon Dungeness Crab. Sustainably harvested, uniquely delicious, and always wild. Oregon Dungeness Crab always sounds good for dinner.
Dane back the other way, slows it down across the timeline. He dribbles right now. He takes off and drives, steps back, looks left, gets a screen, top of the key, kicks to Grant. Grant attacks underneath, throws it to Hart, rotates to Watford. Watford for three. Got it! Trendon Watford from downtown. 4-point game, 123-119.
The Coach's Corner with Chauncey Billups on Blazers Game Day, presented by Henderson & Daughter. Henderson & Daughter has been supplying superior design service, quality windows, entry doors, patio doors, and window installation to the Portland and Southwest Washington area since 1977. Before you decide to just replace your current windows or exterior doors, have our designers present you with a free in-home design consultation and estimate to show you the different styles we carry that can give your home a fresh new look. Henderson & Daughter, your window and door experts.
All right, let's take a listen to Coach Billups following the Blazers' 129-121 loss at Chicago, finishing up their three-game road trip at 2-1.
Sure. I mean, you know, the way that he was rolling, they just started kind of firing on him and doubling him, whether he was in pick and roll or whether he was just bringing it down the court. You know, they just started firing. And I thought for the most part, we did a decent job of handling it, but there was some really important plays that we didn't get a good-looking shot when you really always should. When they put two on the ball way at half court, you play on 4-on-3 on the backside, we should get a good quality shot. And it hurt us when we didn't a few times.
We talked about kind of fatigue. How much did size and the difference in kind of their side, particularly have to?
Yeah, well, we knew that was an issue. You know, we knew that was an issue when Nurk is not playing. Drew was out there giving all he had. He was kind of hurting as well. You know, they got big Vooch. I mean, he's huge. And Drummond comes in. I mean, we're undermanned most nights. That's always an issue with us. So I stopped even talking about that. That's just a given every night.
How do you come away from this trip? How do you feel like team performed?
Man, I thought it was a great trip, man. You know, played some quality teams that have been playing very well. Have a chance to go 3-0, and just didn't get over the hump. But man, those first two wins were incredible wins by us. So I thought it was a very, very successful trip.
You talk about size disadvantages. How important was it to have Trendon play the way he did on this road trip moving forward?
Yeah, I think it helped his confidence a lot. You know, Trendon was a big deal for us, and you know, that's not even really his natural position, but he's just a basketball player and with a good feel, so he just finds a way, you know, out there, and, you know, he'll continue to get his opportunity.
There's Coach Billups following the Blazers' loss. Like I said, no frustration tonight. They had a good effort, but they ran out of gas. Third game in 4 nights, 2-1 on the road trip, which is solid. And now they come back for 5 straight at Moda Center starting Monday night against the Bucks. Let's go out to my man Victor in Turkey. Victor, a question for you. Did you get my text message last night?
Yeah, I did. I was so happy, you know. I was very relaxed when I got your text. I'm not usually very relaxed, you know, because I'm a hyper person, you know, stuff like that. But when I got your text, that kind of put me to sleep, you know.
That's good.
It was very, very nice of you, man. But anyways, I have a question and a comment. My question is, you mentioned that if we maybe trade like Keon Johnson and two future picks for Vanderbilt, how about the Josh Hart? What we're going to do with Josh Hart? What we're going to get for Josh Hart? We're going to keep him?
No, he's gone for sure. They're going to deal him. I'm not really sure. I heard today, you know, you could get possibly a couple of young players. I'm just not real clear yet on who they're targeting for that Josh Hart piece. But, yes, Josh Hart will get dealt before Thursday.
Well, I hope, Chad, they get it because he's very valuable. I mean, he's one of the famous guys that he was when he was in New Orleans, you know, in the Pelicans. But what I'm saying is, I hope they get a good value for him because, you know, he's a good defender. So that's what I'm hoping the GM make a good deal for, because he's the most valuable, I mean, right now. That's my hope. But the second one, well, the second comment I have about the Ant Simon. We saw Ant Simon, after the Blazers were down like 15 points, he came in and he put 3 3-pointers and 2-pointers. Believe me, I don't want to compare him with the GB, GB from the Toronto or DeRozan. You see, some players like DeRozan, he's saturated. Not only he's getting old, he's a saturated guy, into my opinion. He's the one that, first of all, I don't think he's going to win a championship, no matter who plays for. And second, he's not getting any better. I mean, he might have scored, I don't know, 50 points in one game and stuff like that. But again, but the Simon, I really believe in my heart, not only because I love him the way he looks, but I see the mojo, the concentration, the focus in his eyes, in his character. Any team he goes to, they're gonna win a championship. That might take a few years, but I hope that I live long enough to see that, because I know this guy. I mean, as Chris said, he's just improving, And also remember, he is not the first option. When Jamie Grant come to the team, he was the third option. Damian, Jimmy Grant, and then Ant Simon. He's a third option. When CJ McCollum went to the Pelicans, he had an interview on the TV. He said, "Well, when I was in the Portland Blazers, I was a second option. I wasn't the leader. Damian was the leader." And then he said, I have that in that website. And then he said, "Well, right now in Pelicans, I'm the leader. I'm the first guy." And you know what he did? He brought the Pelicans to the contending, position. Same thing for Ant. Ant is right now the third. Believe me, he's the third option on the team. So any team he goes on, he's going to be the first option, and he's going to be a leader. And he's the one can score like the Damian does. He's going to score 40 points, 50 points. I don't really believe that what people think about the OG and OB or this guy, that guy. Those guys, I mean, they are good players, but they don't have the character that the Simon had. And as I said, I don't say it because I wanted him to be on the Blazer, and I wanted to, because I support the Blazer first before I support Simon. But I wanted to be wearing the Blazer jersey and win the championship. And I don't think they're going to trade him. As you said, I don't think they're going to trade him. And if they get a couple more pieces, I really believe the Blazers can win. Maybe not today, not to this year, but they're going to win a championship soon. Thank you.
Appreciate the phone call, Victor. That's my man right there. If the Blazers ever trade Ant, Victor will fight the franchise. He's fighting somebody. I love his love for Simon.
Yes, for sure.
All right, Burkhardt. Well, I tell you what, 3-game road trip successful. Now you got to come back home for back-to-back games against the Bucks and the Warriors. Brutal.
Yeah, that's not fun. Warriors, though, I mean, Steph did leave the game tonight, so you don't know what kind of shape they're in. The Bucks are going to be tough, but I think grabbing 2 or 3 on this road trip, not bad at all. It's kind of what you needed.
Like Giannis, they got no answer for that. No answer for Giannis.
No.
Even fully healthy, no answer. But now with lack of size, that's just problematic.
And didn't he have a 40-15 game today?
He did.
Yeah.
Best player on the planet. All right, final thoughts tonight, Burkhardt, before we ski-daddle?
No, I'm ready for February 9th to get here. This is one of my least favorite times of the NBA season because, like I said to you the other day, ESPN created the trade machine a while back, and it might be the worst thing to the detriment of mankind's health mentally. Mm-hmm. People throw just asinine trades at the wall thinking they're going to work. Like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure, because Kyrie wants out. I'm pretty sure KD's going to want out. So, they're in rebuild mode then. So, like, if you send them Keon and Winslow and Nurk, like, I'm pretty sure they'd send you KD. Like, oh, my God, I hate this time of year. I can't wait till the evening of February 9th when we can start talking about the trades that actually did happen.
Ugh. All right. Our next broadcast will come up on Monday. Game day will start at 4:30. Tip-off with the Bucks will be at 7 o'clock. And then, of course, the fifth quarter following the game. And then Wednesday night, the Warriors will be in town, same time. 7 o'clock tip with game day starting at 4:30. I do appreciate your time today, the phone calls, your interaction on the YouTube chat. We appreciate it. Your final score tonight from United Center in Chicago, the Bulls over the Trailblazers, 129-121. For Chris Burkhart, I'm Chad Doing. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.